Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hari. So you are sitting in chairs. Different view.
Just for a while, we have created Mayapur Institute of Vedic Studies, Prabhu.
Okay.
It's more than IIM, IIT for us.
Hari. So let's start with the prayers. So just a minute, I'll just answer. मैं क्लास में बैठा हूँ, बाद में बात कर लूँ. ठीक है. ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपदा मह्यं ददाति स पदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनित्य नाम्ने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशार्थदेशतारणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतसे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोप्सा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते सप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचरणनिवासाय नित्य परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare. So, we had some homework also. Devotee had done homework. Doesn't seem like no, they have done from their face. Okay. Okay. So, from which verse we are supposed to start?
Prabhuji, next week we'll submit, Prabhu.
Okay.
These programs are going and we are installing Srila Prabhupada in our center. So in that, so many services are there. Next week we'll learn, Prabhu.
You can tell me the verse number which verse I was supposed to speak on?
4.14, Prabhu.
4.14. Okay. So we discussed about the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas, how one can progress in spiritual life while following this varnashram system gradually. And now we'll suddenly, after hearing that, Arjuna has a question that, my dear Lord, you are also following the duties of a Kshatriya. So like a Kshatriya, you become the minister of Ugrasena. You go to his court, report to Ugrasena. So, are you also bound by the laws of Varnashram like we are bound? So, Krishna answers that by text number 14. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spraha iti mam yuva vijanati karma bhir nasa badyate. Please read the translation.
Hare Krishna, there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of the action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitful reaction of work. Hare Krishna.
The Lord says, Namam karmani limpanti. Like a jiva, I am not contaminated by the activities. Why? Name karma phales praha. Because I don't desire any results. See, generally in this world, people work to get something. For example, all our devotees now, they are returning from different companies. So why they go to company? Because they need money which they don't have. As far as Krishna is concerned, he has all the money of the whole world. He doesn't have to work hard. Like once few people complained to Prabhupada that Swamiji, what is this? Your disciples, they don't work outside. They simply eat and chant and dance. So Prabhupada said that rich man's son don't work. So we are sons of Krishna, the richest man. So our devotees, they don't work outside. They simply chant, dance, and they enjoy life. So that is how Krishna doesn't have anything to accomplish. He has everything. Similarly, man gets married to woman, woman gets married to man in this world. Because they lack some pleasure which they get from each other. So in this way, in this whole world, we are working for something which we don't have. We want to accomplish something. But as far as Krishna is concerned, he has everything. He is owner of the whole world. So generally, because of that, he doesn't desire any result. Because he already has all the results. And Krishna says, Iti yo mam yo abhijanati. One who knows that karma bhed nasa paddhati. He is also not bound by the activities. So Krishna engages in activity just to encourage the mankind to do activities. That is the main thing. Lord comes and performs the activities to set an example for rest of the people to follow. He doesn't come for because he needs something. So that difference between Krishna and us. What to say of Krishna himself? Even Krishna's pure devotees, they are not bound by law of karma. Like in Brahma Samhita it is said, yes, Tui Indragopam. So the example of Indragopa. From Indragopa, small insect, till Brahma, all the people are bound by karma. But when it comes to devotees, so what Brahmaji says? That those who perform devotion service are not bound. So if pure devotees of the Lord are not bound, then what to say of Lord himself? So that's what Lord clarifies. And this is also like very, very important concept because many times outsiders don't understand. So before coming to Krishna consciousness, I heard some very famous Kathakar in India, especially in North India. So you are telling what to do. Even Lord Ram has to suffer from the laws of karma. He had to be separate from his wife and he had to cry like an ordinary person. But Lord Ram's separation from Sita is not ordinary. It's not ordinary. His separation from Sita is love and separation. That's not like the sentiments of this world. So Lord is not bound by karma. That is the main thing. And also one who knows that means one who knows that if you don't aspire to enjoy the results of your activity, so if the one does that, one will also not be bound. So that's the whole point. Okay. So now we'll go to the next verse. Kim karma kim karmeti kavayo api yatra mohita tatte karma pravekshami yat gyata mokshase asubhat. Please read the translation.
All the liberated souls in ancient times
Sorry to interrupt, bro.
with this.
Evam gnatva kutam karma.
15, Prabhu. We have to-
15.
Okay. Sorry. Just a minute. What you said?
15th verse we missed. Prabhu. What did we
That is only 15th missed, bro.
We had to start. Instead of 15, we started 16. Prabhu.
Okay. Fine. In the 15, I spoke 16. Evam gyatva kritam karma purver api mukshubhi kuru karma tasmat purvetaram kritam. Yeah, please read the translation.
All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. Hare Krishna.
So now Lord say that previously people like Janak Maharaj, they also followed the system. So what is the system? Do activity, but don't try to enjoy the results. And Mukshubi, so such intelligent people, have already perfected their life. So if you follow their footsteps, you can also perfect your life. As simple as that. So he said it's not like something unknown. Already many people have been liberated from cycle of birth and death in this way. Okay. Somebody had hand raised. It was just to point out the verse number. Okay.
No, bro. I had Susa Karjandas here. I had one question.
Okay.
Is it right to ask now or shall I ask later?
You can ask. Yes.
we were discussing about this thing, Prabhu, like how to understand whether being practicing Krishna consciousness is this thing. So it's because of our own mistake, or it's a purification given by the Lord, or it's a desire of the Lord. How can we identify that, Prabhu? Is that audible, Prabhu? My voice?
Audible, yes, yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Simple thing is follow Guru Sadhu Sastra.
Okay.
The main thing is if something is coming, we can't stop it. But how to respond, we have to learn. How to respond? Respond according to Guru Sadhu Sastra. So something which is happening, generally we can't avoid it. But then how to respond to it, how to act, that we can learn from Guru Sadhu Sastra. So some things which are not in our hand, we can't anywhere do anything. But even in our own life, we got some realizations. May not be so big, something so small. So that should help us and give us a hope that we will further progress. And also we can hear about people who have been practicing for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, how they are getting so much realization. And if they are getting, as spoken in this particular verse, if we follow in their footsteps, we will also get realization. So you may ask from any devotee, even those who are like Prabhupada disciples who have been practicing since so many years, all of them have experienced that initial days are days of struggle. So either somebody has been brahmachari or a grahastha, whoever, initial days are days of struggle. No, like similarly, when it comes to birth, old age, disease, death, within this body, even devotees suffer. So the very fact we have this body means body is bound to be attacked by threefold miseries. But what marks the difference between devotee and non-devotee is how they respond. And many things, actually speaking, lot of suffering is reduced by proper attitude. So according to Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, if you have proper attitude, lot of suffering can reduce. Like now, somebody told me one example, and I was relating to it. That let us say now if you have anything, this bottle filled with water in your hand, holding it for 1 minute is maybe easy. 10 minutes become difficult. 1 hour becomes very difficult. And if I say 1 day, it would be like a punishment. So same thing, holding it for a long time becomes very difficult because it registers some weight in the mind. So similarly, when we hold on to certain conceptions, we think about them again and again. Dhayate vaise pumsam sangasya tu jayate. Sanga sanjate kada kama krodho pajate. Same thing affects us. So if we dwell into the miseries, how we are so miserable, even if we are a little bit miserable, misery increases. And if we dwell into Krishna conscious subject matters, that also expands. So miseries may be there, but main thing is how we respond matters a lot. Tomorrow only I am going to give classes to some devotees. Actually, that is a very big batch. I am giving to Bhakti. So most of the devotees are temple presidents. One of the devotees, like, many temple presidents are under him. He's like RGB in one African continent. So they're like very senior. I feel very ashamed when I give class to them. But what to do? I have this service of teaching. So one of these devotees, I had some I was speaking, I think, initially I spoke them first canto, that class I gave them. So then we were having some exercise, so he was sharing his experience. So he's currently having cancer. So but he was telling his realization that whenever I'm absorbed in hearing Bhagavatam, chanting of the holy names, I don't feel any pain. So that means mind, if we really take shelter of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita properly, we can just transcend the miseries. It is possible. So we can reduce our miseries, not physically, but at least on a mental level by proper attitude. So that we learn from Bhagavad Gita Bhagavata. Okay.
Thank you.
Hare. Now 16. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavyo api atra mohitah tatte karma pravakshami yas gyata mokshase asubhat. Please use the translation.
Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Hare Krishna.
Then he says, even intelligent are bewildered in understanding what is action and inaction. And Prabhupada will give that, definition is also there. Okay. So action is not just, and I won't say action is a very good word. There's a lot of limitation with vocabulary in English. Sanskrit word karma has a lot of meanings. It can mean action. It can mean the chain of fruitive activities. It can mean reactions of your actions from previous. It can mean the reactions of what you are doing now. So there can be a lot of meaning of karma. So in this way, it's very difficult to understand what is karma and what is not karma. Kim karma, kim akarmeti. What is karma and what is akarma? Even those who are very intelligent can't understand that. So I'll make it more clear in the 17th verse. And Prabhupada quotes the example of this verse from Bhagavatam. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam na te vidu risyo napi deva na siddhi mukhya asuramanusya kuto nu vidyadhar saranade. So as far as karma and its complexities are concerned, and what is dharma? So what this verse says is, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Nobody can make a religion. Religion is made by Supreme Person, God himself. Na te vidu risyo napi deva. No intelligent person, no rishi, no demigod, no siddha, charan, anybody can make a religion. Who makes religion? Supreme Lord makes the religion. Who understands the religion? So then Yamraj says, he's speaking to basically Yamdutas. So he's quoting the name of all Mahadanas. Swambar, Narada, Sambhu, Kumar, Kapila, Manu, Prahlada, Janako, Bhishma, Balir, Vaisakhi, Vayam. So he says only 12 of us, we know what is dharma. Dharma is very complex. That's why all the people are not made Yamraj. Who is made Yamraj? Who is really very expert and he has connection with Paramatma. He can understand the laws of nature very properly. It's very difficult. And Krishna will give an example in the next verse, 17th. Karmano hapi hi api bodhavyam chavi karmana akarmanascha bodhavyam gehena karmanugati. Please read translation.
The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
Kim karma, kim akarmeti. What is action, what is forbidden action? Gehena karmanugati, it's very difficult to understand. So truth is that forbidden action is called vikarma. Actions according to scriptures or varnashram dharma is called karma. And actions which are performed without a desire to enjoy the results and devotional activities. Means that or higher than that. If you remember the graph, level of not trying to enjoy the results of the activities. Higher than that is giving up, do a same mentality, without false ego, realization of Paramatma or realization of Bhagavan. Anything about that, that is called akarma. Akarma. But externally, one can't judge what is karma, what is akarma, what is vikarma. Externally, somebody may be thinking this person is performing akarma by becoming a sadhu, sitting like that idly, not doing anything. But if this man is sitting like a sadhu and is dwelling into sense objects, thinking about sense gratification in his mind, he will not be elevated, he will be degraded. Or Arjuna runs away from the battlefield and becomes a sadhu and sits in one place. People may think that he has become elevated, he has become a sadhu. No. Because he has given his activity of fighting, he will get sin for not performing his activity of saving the citizens. So that inaction is actually implicating, it's not elevating. So it may be looking like akarma, but it is vikarma. Understood difference? It's vikarma, it is sinful, it is not akarma. Akarma is not acting. He is not acting, but he is acting sinfully. So if you are not doing your duty, that's degrading, that's not elevating. So somebody may say, what did I do? You didn't do the right thing. That is what you did. There is something wrong. So that's why if somebody has some duty, he's not performing that duty, he's actually implicated. Rather, mode of ignorance is more implicating and more entangling than mode of passion. Is that clear? So similarly, other way around. Now let us take another example. Another example is, sometimes somebody may be looking like engaging in karma. For example, even all our devotees sitting here. So you all go in the office, you work. But if you are work with the consciousness that I'll bring money to serve Krishna and his devotees and the deities in my home or in the temple, then it is not entangling, that's liberating. So then it's not karma, it is akarma. Similarly, if Kshatriya is killing someone in the war field, so many people may be dying. Somebody may say that he has killed so many people, so bad. No, that's not vikarma. That is karma. He is following scriptures. So in this way, just by externally seeing things, we can't understand what is karma, what is vikarma, and what is akarma. That's why Krishna says karmana gehna karmano gatihi. It's very complex. It's not that easy to understand. That is why so many people, they so the sound is making me forget the example. There's why so many people, they sometimes blame Bhishma Pitama, and they say that because he ate the salt of the Kauravas, that's why he became corrupted. Only when we go through the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand the elevated position of Bhishma. And he was not performing vikarma. He was actually doing the highest devotion service in Veeraras with Krishna. Or Akrurji, although in the sight of Kansa, was in the place under Kansa so that he can know the actions of Kansa. So that's why you are doing devotion service, although directly being under such a wicked king. So that's why very difficult to understand externally who is a devotee, who is not a devotee. Okay, some devotee asked a question that somebody joins Brahmacharya ashram, later on finds that his senses are getting agitated by sense objects. So will it become sin? So we have to understand that in every ashram, there are some laws we follow. And if we are trying our best to follow those laws, then it is not. So sins in the mind in Kali Yuga are not like counted. Nanu dveshti kalim samrat sarange visarbhok kuslani asu siddhanti netrani kritaniyat. So in Kali Yuga, even good things done in mind are counted, and bad things, unless until they're physically done, they're not counted. So that's benefit of Kali Yuga. But at the same time, we should not continue dwelling about sense objects in the mind. We should understand, okay, I may be fallen, but even on mental level, I have to become purified. So one should struggle. And generally, brahmachari life is considered more of a student life where you learn. So that's the safest and most liberal ashram. Or brahmachari, if you want to get married, you can become grasthas, no problem. It's not a sin. Brahmachari, he is not obligated to treat all the people like children. Sometimes for some service, he can say no also. So, brahmachari life is like very independent life as compared to sannyasi. Sannyasi life is the toughest life. Sannyasi is anything goes here and there wrong, that's very much condemned. But brahmachari life is student life. It's like practicing life. Okay. Okay. Another question was, the sins done in mind in Kali Yuga are not counted. Are not counted. So there's a verse called Nanu Dveshti Kalim Samrat. Somebody can find. You only can. Somebody can see in the Vedas. So it's Nanu Dveshti Kalim Samrat. Sarange Visarbhok. It's from first canto, where it is given Hawaii Parikshit didn't accept Kali Yuga despite knowing the effects of Kali Yuga.
Nanu dveshanti kalina samrat sarangeva sarabu.
This one only. Kuslani asu siddhanti netrani kritaniyat. Yeah. So devotee is asking the reference number. Unfortunately, I couldn't install the Vedabase in my laptop, so I can't find. Some devotees can find in the Vedabase if they have Vedabase, and they can put in the chat box. Okay. So we'll go ahead. Verse 18. Karmani akarma ya pasyet akarmani cha karma ya sa buddhiman manusyesu sa yukta krishna karmakrit. Please use the translation.
One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities.
So as I told before also, that somebody like Janak Maharaj, if he is performing Niskam Karma Yoga, then whole of his karma is not binding him, it is liberating him. Similarly, somebody is a sannyasi, but his heart is impure and is constantly meditating on the sinful desires in the heart, then he incurs misery and he becomes bound. So that is how seeing action in action and inaction in action. Seeing inaction in action means, although Janak Maharaj is performing action, but one has to see inaction, that he is not doing anything material. And some sannyasi seemingly doing inaction, meditating, but if he is dwelling in the sense objects, then that is sinful action. So in this way, action and inaction, inaction and inaction. Okay. Okay, Manjunath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Guruji, Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, just related to the point just mentioned in the previous verse, in the Kali Yuga, thinking only in the mind is not sinless unless it's action taking place, only it's counted. So I think I heard in one of the lectures, or maybe from the previous acharyas, during the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu time, I think one of the his disciple or devotee or something was constantly watching Mataji. I think that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed, and you just go and take suicide actually. So how do I understand? He was just thinking and watching the Mataji, right? So even that is the part of Kali Yuga, right, Prabhuji? That is an action or just only in the thinking and the mind of the disciple? I just want yeah.
What we would understand is that first thing is he didn't do it constantly. It was constantly. It was just for a moment. So he talked with some Mataji, and we don't know the detail. We don't know the detail. That mostly he talked some casual talk or something. We don't know the detail.
Okay.
But what we have to understand is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did it to just set an example.
Okay.
Because generally when a person commits suicide, he becomes a ghost.
Yes.
But when Chota Haridas committed suicide, he got Siddha Deha. He got perfection of life. See, his body was resembling a Gandharva. It was not a Gandharva body. Many people say it is Gandharva. It's not Gandharva body. It's resembling a Gandharva. Says Siddha Deha means he's free from gross body and subtle body. He got his body in the spiritual world.
Okay. Okay.
So that was mercy of Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu accomplished two things from that. He gave mercy to Chota Haridas by immediately liberating him from gross and subtle bodies, so that he can continuously sing for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu would go to take bath, he would sing for the pleasure of Mahaprabhu after his departure.
Okay.
Second thing is, he did it to just set an example for people in general. See, what was happening in those times is, Mahaprabhu saw some devotees not very careful in the etiquette.
Okay.
So they were liberated souls. So in Prabhuji's and Mataji's way that they were talking very intimately among the, like, those who were not like husband wife, even when they were talking intimately, there was nothing wrong because all the associates of Mahaprabhu are eternal associates. But people may misunderstand or get a wrong teaching. So Mahaprabhu was setting an example. Okay, so that's the main thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Because Chota Hari was in wrong order, na? As far as I remember, is sannyasi. So that restriction has to be there. Now 19th.
Thank you.
Hari. Yas sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitah jnanagni dagdha karmanam tam ahu panditam buddha. Please read the translation.
One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge.
So the same concept of text number 18 is described in the next verses. It is given detail. That how by performing an action, you can be free from the reactions of the previous actions also. What to say of current action? Because work done in knowledge burns the reactions of past sinful activities also. Like as we know, somebody eats meat, 100% is bound by sin. No doubt about it. Somebody eats vegetables, he gets lesser sin because plants have very lower consciousness. Somebody eats food which is offered to the demigods, he gets punya. But that is also entangling. One enjoys because of that. Same eating. Somebody eats prasad, he gets rid of all previous activities, and he also gets spiritual advancement. So same activity can lead to different results. So what matters is knowledge and the intent of action. Okay. So that matters.
Prabhu?
Yeah.
Prabhu, normally, like if we go to Shiva temple, where can we take the prasadam which is offered to Lord Shiva, Prabhu? So during the festival, we went for Deepdan. There they were distributing prasadam which is offered to Lord Shiva.
See, main thing, it has to be authentic temple. If it is not authentic temple, Lord Shiva has not taken that. In any authentic temple, they first offer it to Saligram and then they offer to the Lord. or through mantras they offer to Vishnu and then they offer. So it has to be genuine. Otherwise, we can just respect it and like maybe we can do Nirmala or something like that. But it has to be authentic, then we can take. Other things, there are certain things that are prohibited which you should not take. Let us say, no, somebody has offered bhang to Lord Shiva. That Lord Shiva can take. Bhang, you understand? It is intoxication. So a lot of people take big during Holi. Not now, Shiva Prasad, oh, very nice, I also drink too. I took Prasad Proji. That's not. Lord Shiva can drink poison also. We can't take poison Prasad. So main thing is, whenever we go to demigod temple, it has to be authentic. And if you go to authentic temple, then they offer to the Lord, and then they, like, no, in if you've seen Puri, Mahaprasad is offered to Jagannath, then it goes to Bimla Devi, then it goes to various demigod temples. So that's okay. So traditionally, if we do, then that's different, because demigods are also devotees of Krishna. But many times, most of the times, you don't find nowadays people follow such a strict procedure. Maybe in South India temples, but at least not in the majority of the temples of India today. Okay, Santosh.
Prabhuji, as I said, the sin is dependent on the consciousness of Jiva, right? Like killing of the plant and killing of the animal, we get the different level of reaction. How does it depend on the consciousness? That was the question. Because ultimately, both as Jiva, but the killing of the plant, I'll get the different sin, and killing of the animal, I'll get the more higher sin. So how does it?
Yeah. See, we understand from the response also. First thing we understand from scriptures. According to scriptures, animals have higher consciousness. Among animals, cow has the highest consciousness. And then humans have much more higher consciousness. So that's according to scriptures. And if we see in general also, animals, we find they cry. Such a pain is there, so clearly expressed. Among animals also there are gradations. If you go to lower animals, so then sometimes other animal is killed, this animal even doesn't mind. He keeps on doing his own work. You find a goat. One goat is getting killed and hanged. Other goats are like, no, just waiting. They're not doing anything. But then when it comes to cows, even if you take the calf away, cow cries like anything. Cows have very strong affection. We are staying here in Gosara. So that's why those who kill cows, they get very severe reactions. They say as many hairs are in the body of cows, those many years they have to suffer in the hell. So they have very severe reactions. So it depends on consciousness. And as far as plants are concerned, they feel pain only when they're cut. And it's like very less pain. Okay. Okay, Manjunath.
No, sorry, Prabhu, that was a previous one. Sorry, I'll
okay. Sarojini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So seeing inaction in action is when they work in Krishna consciousness, even though they do action, it is actually inaction. So that's the meaning, Prabhu.
Yes.
Seeing
yes.
inaction.
Yes.
Okay. And the reverse will be for action in inaction, even though they seem to be not doing, but in the mind when we have thinking of essential pressure or something, then it will be action.
Yes. And also neglecting one's duties.
Okay.
It's like policeman is just standing, he's saying, I'm not doing anything. While rogues and thieves are like now looting someone. Like you see recently, maybe a year ago, there was two sadhus were killed. And policemen were not like saying, we are not doing anything. They were not doing anything. Rather, they left sadhus in the hands of the people only to be killed. So they'll get severe reactions for that. They can say, no, we didn't do anything. For somebody is killing a sadhu, should have killed all other people. They are rakshasas, they should be killed. You can't say that, no, I can't kill so many people. Let them kill the sadhus. So then they get severe reactions for that.
So watching others suffering without doing the action, if we are in an appropriate position, also brings out the karma.
Yes. So they were supposed to protect as a policeman. Rather, they should have given their life to protect the people. They should have punished the people who are doing the injustice. If you say, I'm inaction, I'm not doing anything. Why? Because I'm non-violent. I will not kill anyone. Because of 2 sadhus, I have to kill 20 people. No. You will be implicated. So protecting the innocent is your responsibility. You can't be so casual. So then that's sinful. Okay. Similarly, actions, not just I'm talking about, because we are going in the sequence of Bhagavad Gita, not just action in Krishna consciousness, even action of Niskam Karma Yogi, that also comes on the level of akarma. So in the graph, if you move from not designed to enjoy fruits onwards above, this all comes in the level of akarma. Okay.
Leaving desire of fruits also, right? From there,
Yes,
it starts till okay.
Till end. Okay. Narasimha bro.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, daily, like when we are executing our duties, normally, like we will be unknowingly, like means killing like small creatures while walking or whatever it is. When Mataji's cook, so many other things might also get killed unknowingly. And when this comes to devotees and even very senior devotees, so this karma also affects Prabhu because of these actions. Unknowingly.
I think we spoke about it before, about Panchasuna Yagya. Maybe devotee have forgotten the previous classes. So we told about Panchasuna Yagyas in general, Grasas do Panchasuna Yagyas, but in Kali Yuga Prabhupada writes that because these Yagyas are not powerful, so we do Harinam Sankirtan Yagya.
So Harinam Sankirtan is the solution for these sort of things.
Yes. But at the same time, not that no, I'm doing Harinam so I can do anything. You should try to avoid as less as possible. Killing should be as less as possible. Okay. Okay. Last question, Santosh, then we'll move on. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible, Prabhu?
Yes.
As you said, and we have a higher responsibility to take care of the society, and we have been seeing so many abominable things are going on. And last week when I was traveling from my native to Bangalore, and like people for this sensual pleasure, even they will do abominable activity in the train or bus, wherever place. So in that case, how can we respond to them? Can we react to them, or how can we explain to them like what is our role in that project?
Use your intelligence, whatever is your responsibility, whatever you can do, we can do that. If you feel other people are little cultured, then you can tell them what this nonsense are doing, no, stop them. But if you find they're also nonsense, they're also enjoying, then save yourself. Go and sit in some other place. So we have to be practical upon what we can do, what we cannot do. Like I told the example of these 2 sadhus being killed. If we were in that place, what should we have done? We should have told police only, you should do anything. We should have given them, spoken all bad words to them. That now you protect them. Because you also become a third person to take their side, they may kill you also. So then we have to use our intelligence how to work. So responsibility, we should know the goal. At the same time, details, we have to use our intelligence to find out. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Big question is there in the class. Last week we heard that it is okay to accept the prasad, thinking that he is a form of Vaishnava. Similarly, the prasad of others are is it considered offensive if you don't take the prasad. Think they are separate, then you should not take the prasad. But if you see that they are devotees, order to take prasad, really offensive to reduce it. Can you explain this? Okay, the same thing. Same thing which I spoke, Maharaj also spoke the same thing. Anpan Mangalpur sent me. You can send it in general. I think you sent me in private.
Yeah, bro. Sure.
So he sent some message where Japataka Maharaj was asked, can we take the demigod's prasad? Maharaj said, if you sing connected to Supreme Lord, then you can take, otherwise you don't take. Same point I also spoke, that if it is offered properly to the Lord and then offered to the demigods, then you can take, because you see that it is Vishnu Prasad only coming through the mouth of another devotee. But if you don't see that it is Vishnu Prasad, that means even that demigod has not taken. So we see everything in connection to the Supreme Lord. That is the main thing. So then we are not implicated by the sin. So then you are taking Vishnu Prasad, you are not taking demigod Prasad. Okay.
Yes, bro. Thank you.
20th. त्यक्त्वा कर्म फला संगम नित्य तृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मणि अभिप्रवृत्तोपि नैव किंचित करोति सा. Please read the translation.
Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings.
This is a person, Nitya Triptaha. Nitya Tripta means person who is always satisfied on his own bliss. What it means is, if somebody has that higher taste, Niskam Karma Yogi get the taste by performance of dharma. Performance of dharma gets greater pleasure, gives more pleasure than sense gratification also. That's why there are so many kings, they knew we will lose the war. Still they would give their life for helping them, protecting the citizens. Because performance of dharma gives a greater pleasure than sense gratification. They can compromise, they can bow down before the enemy, allow the enemy to exploit the citizens and preserve their kingdom and kingship. But we find many Kshatriyas didn't agree. So Nitya Tripta. So for him it may be performance of dharma. For a Jnani, he may be getting pleasure by realization of or knowledge of I am not body, I am soul. One who has realized Brahman gets pleasure in realization of soul, not just knowledge. One who is a yogi gets pleasure of realization of Paramatma. And one who is a devotee, he gets pleasure of relating with Krishna. So in these people, because they are getting Nitya Tripta, is satisfied in a higher realization, what happens for them is, they nirasrayaha. Such a person doesn't perform activity just to maintain himself. He performs activities just to set an example, and it is ought to be done as a part of her dharma. Simple. So main thing is, when it comes to sense gratification, generally we have desire for sense gratification because our heart is not already plunged into bliss. If we are already spiritually very satisfied, these material hankerings will not trouble us. So similarly, when our material hankerings trouble, what we should do? Take shelter of spiritual processes. Hear some nice kirtans, serve devotees, take nice prasad, and seek satisfaction from there. So one who is satisfied within, he will not seek for satisfaction outside. So that's the whole formula. Okay, so such a person, this is the symptom of a person who is satisfied from within, and that's why he performs only akarma. Okay, so this is the example given. So this is a sign. And 21, निराशीर्य चित्तात्मा हितत्वा सर्व परिग्रह शरीरम केवलम कर्म कुर्वन् नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्. Please read that.
Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working is not affected by sinful reactions.
So this is the explanation again for one must understand the truth concerning Vikarma. So that means for a person whose mind is controlled, and Atma here means body is controlled. That means one acts as is ought to be done. One thinks as one is supposed to think. So those are self-controlled people, they don't just think. They know how they think, and they can control and think what they want to think. Understood? They don't just think. They know what they think, and they can think what they want to think. That's the meaning of control of mind. So then such a person, even he may accept sometimes charity from a sinful person, he doesn't become affected. Because his power of knowledge, the fire of knowledge is very strong. So then such, we find actually he is Dattatreya, but he comes in the 7th canto also. I think he comes in the 11th canto also. He meets Yadu, he meets Prahlad Maharaj. So then he is a personality like that. Of course, Dattatreya is an incarnation of the Lord. But this Avdut Brahmana, he eats anything, he is not much concerned about the world. So he roams around, understanding that I am not body, I am soul. So then he may be eating from somewhere, sleeping somewhere, sometimes working, sometimes not working, but he is not affected. So because he is situated in that realization. So that is about such a person who is in that level of realization. Further symptoms are given in the next verse. Yadriksha labha santushto dvandhatito vimatsaraha samasaddhav asaddhocha kitvapi na nibadyate.
He who is satisfied with the gain which of its own occurred, who is free from duality and does not envy, free in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions.
So who is not entangled? It is given there. Yadrikshaya labha santushto. Whatever results come by his actions, he is satisfied in them. Satisfaction is a key for mind control. Rather, mind is purified by satisfaction. This is one of the verses of 10th canto. It comes in 10th canto of Bhagavatam. How different things get purified through different things. So there's a verse called Kale Nasnana Swachabhyam Samskare Tapse Jaya Suddhanti Dane Santushya Dravyani Atmatma Vidya. It's 10.5.4. I'll just write the verse number. 10th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 4. So beautiful, you can read some times later. So in this, how different things are purified by different things is spoken. So there it is written, mind is purified by satisfaction. So somebody is satisfied with within, mind becomes purified. So like many times people say, oh, Prabhu, I have mental problem. Mind is, I'm become dwelled with anxiety. What is solution? Be satisfied. How can you be satisfied? Count your blessings. By Krishna's grace now, at least I have 2 legs, 2 hands, 1 mouth to speak. And by Krishna's grace, at least I am getting and surviving. No, and I am getting opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. Nobody takes you money. How much does a temple charge you for chanting every round? We know that going through charges you something for chanting one round.
Nothing to.
Yeah, free of cost.
In spite, he is spending a lot of time with us, bro.
Yeah. So you're getting asana of devotees for free, chanting of the holy names for free, such a nice prasadam. You attend kirtans, nobody charges you for kirtans. So such a nice life. Yeah. So then one should be satisfied. So by satisfaction, what happens is mind is purified. So yadracha labha santushto. Dvanditito. Dvanditito means he's free from dualities. Heat, cold, this, that. For devotees, freedom from dualities means whatever may happen, one continues to practice Krishna consciousness. Some you get a higher package, you chant Hare Krishna. You are terminated from the company, you chant Hare Krishna. One gets chappan bhog, you chant Hare Krishna. There's no salt in the sambar, you chant Hare Krishna. So whatever may happen, if one practices Krishna consciousness, that is the meaning of Dvanditito. And for Niskam Karmi Yogi also, they are on the level of Dharma. They are not like Sumata after sun's gratification. So Dvanditito. Vimatsara, he doesn't envy anyone because he sees everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. That's for a devotee. And for others, they see everyone as soul. Those who have Brahma realization. Sama Siddha Vasiddha. Whether you get success or failure, one understands that main thing is to do one's duty, not worry about results. He is not entangled. So in this way, it is applicable both for Niskam Karmi Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Ashtanga Yogi, and devotees when they get perfection in their performance. Gata Sangasya Muktasya Jnana Vasyata Chetasaha Jnana Charta Karma Samagram Praviliyate. Please read the translation.
The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence.
So this, so yajna chartah karma, that is the keyword here. Because as we discussed before also, Varnasana Acharyavat Pumsena Parapuman, Vishnu Aradhyate Panta na Anyat Tattosa Karana. So all the actions of Varnasana have to be done for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. So because whether it is Niskam Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Ashtanga Yogi, Bhakti Yogi, he is doing things for Lord Vishnu directly or indirectly. Because of that, what happens is he doesn't reap the reactions. And because of that, he is able to elevate himself to the quality which are explained in the previous verses. So that's the way. And that will take many lifetimes sometimes, especially for Niskam Karma Yogis or Jnana Yogis. For devotees, it happens much quicker. But that is the whole center. So if you perform anything for Yajna, for perfection of pleasing Lord Vishnu, one is not bound. So 23 explains how everything should be performed for the purpose of Yajna, means pleasing Lord Vishnu. So Jnana Charta. Now 24 will explain what type of Yajna is that, or how totally things end up in transcendence. So very beautiful, but may look very mysterious verse, 24th. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam Brahmeva Tena Gantavya Brahma Karma Samadhina. Please read the translation.
A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature.
So here it is explained how when the purpose is to please Lord Vishnu, even for, like I told, Karma Yogis, Jnana Yogis, Ashtanga Yogis, they aim at Brahman. But still they please Lord Vishnu because they may see him as a representation of Brahman, that he is not different from Brahman. Although they are more interested in Brahman, but still they worship Lord Vishnu. So when one does that, what happens is everything becomes Brahman means spiritual. So what all becomes spiritual? Brahmarpanam. Arpanam is something which is offered, or the instrument. Like wooden spoon which is used for offering the ghee, that is also called Brahman. So there's a paraphernalia used in yajna, we respect it. Like nowadays, now your children, kids may ask, why should we respect? It is offered to Lord Vishnu. So that becomes Brahman, Brahmarpanam. Then Brahma Havir. Havir basically literally means ghee. Ghee is offered in the fire because it is used for the purpose of pleasing Lord Vishnu. That also becomes spiritual. So it's not ordinary ghee. It's now spiritual. Then Brahm Agnao, the fire of the yajna, is spiritual. It is considered tongue of Lord Vishnu. So that's spiritual. That's tongue of Lord Vishnu. And then one Brahmana Hutam, person who's offering the everything, he also becomes spiritual. Because his activities are spiritual. So because his activities are spiritual, he is no more acting for sense gratification, he is acting for the performance of pleasure of Lord Vishnu. Such a person also becomes spiritual. Rather, person who sees such a yajna also becomes spiritual. Somebody who is attending such a yajna, he also becomes spiritual. So then, somebody who has concentrated and is attentive to see how everything is spiritual, what happens to him? Brahman teva gantavyam. He also gets a spiritual destination. Why? Brahma karma samadhena. Because he was always engaged in the activities of Brahman, spiritual activities. So it's not just for yajna, it's true for everything. Like even when we are hearing. So when we are hearing, everybody gets the benefit. For that also there is like a one verse from Bhagavad. I will just try to find the verse number. It is 10.1.16. So this is Sukdev Goswami who speaks to Parikshit Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj asks question regarding Krishna. So he says, Vasudeva Katha Prashnaha Purusam Stin Punatihi Vaktaram Prakchakam Srotims Tat Pada Salilam Yatha. So this verse says, Vasudeva Katha Prashnaha. My dear king, you have asked question related to Lord Vasudeva. It's very fortunate. It's very good. Why? Purusam Strin Punati. It purifies three people. Who are three? Vaktaram, who answers the question. He gets maximum purification. Second one is Prakshakam, one who asks the question. The second one to get purification. And Srotram. Srotram means people who are hearing the answers, question answer, they also get purified. So all the three people get purified. How much purified? Tad pada yal salilam yatha. The way one gets purified by taking bath in Mother Ganga, which is was the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, one gets purified like that. So that's how this was certainly for devotees. So for whether we are doing the yajna of hearing, we are doing yajna of pleasing the Lord by doing deity worship, doing dham darshan, All such activities ultimately they lead to a spiritual goal because activities in themselves are spiritual. So that is the meaning of this particular verse. Okay, fine. So it may be tough, but if you understand properly, we'll understand how this verse is referring. Everything becomes spiritual. Okay, Anupam Mukund Prabhu.
Prabhuji, here in previous verse, so it is mentioned, Prabhuji. So transcendental knowledge, so who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge, merges entirely into transcendence. So can you explain this line, Prabhuji?
Okay.
So whether he's a Jnani or...
It is the yagya charataha karma kav samagram praviliyate. Praviliyate means merging. See, merging in transcendence means he's fully on a transcendental platform. That means you live in the world which you see with, the way you see the world. The way we see the world, we live in that world. So for some Uttamadhikari who is seeing everything in connection to Krishna, is taking a spiritual world only. Prabodhananda Saraswati says, Vishwam Purnam Sukhayate. Krishna is saying, Dukhalyam Asaswadam, and Prabodhananda Saraswati is saying, Vishwam Purnam Sukhayate. He is saying whole world is world of pleasure. Why? Because he is seeing everything in connection with the Supreme Lord. For him, there is no material world, there is only spiritual world. One of the purports in 10th canto, 14th chapter, Prabhupada writes, it said that person who sees Krishna's planet as his home, Krishna as object of love, and the whole world a paraphernalia to please Krishna. You understood? Spiritual world is my home, Krishna is object of my love, and whole world is meant for the pleasure of Krishna. Such a person, although living in this world, is actually liberated soul, is actually staying in the spiritual world. So that is the meaning of merging and transcendence. Merging and transcendence means he is totally into spiritual realm. He is no more in the material realm. Similarly, those Brahmavadis, they see everywhere, everything as Brahman. Sarva khal idam Brahman. So in this way, there are parallel worlds existing, depending on how we see. Woman is seen like a mother for a small child. She is seen an object to enjoy for a lusty man. She is seen as a food for lion. Mahaprasada Govinde. So same woman, three people see in different way. So similarly, we see the world, how what we live in. So if somebody is seeing in transcendental eye, with transcendental knowledge, he merges in transcendence. He's in that transcendental world. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Narsimham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, this Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir. So this word Brahma, so it is mentioned like it is the meaning is spiritual, but how? But we say this Lord Brahma. So how do we connect that? Prabhu, means confusion is there. So that
it's not Brahma. It's Brahma. Brahma Arpanam. Brahma Arpanam. It's not Brahma Arpanam.
So that Brahma is spelling is different, Prabhu. Means that
that's A is bigger one.
Okay, Brahma.
And it's Brahma.
Okay.
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 Okay. Now the 8 verses explain out different of yagyas. This verse like talked about Brahmarpana and everything. I just gave example of yagya, just so that you can understand the things properly, the terminologies properly. There was an example. But in this way, different people perform yagyas. Different karma yogis, jnana yogis, ashtanga yogis, different people perform in different way. So all such examples are given in next 8 verses. So we'll learn all those examples now. Okay. So we'll go one by one. 25th. Devam eva pare yagyam yogina pariupasate brahmagnava apare yagyam yagyene vopai juhuvati. Please read translation.
Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some of them offer sacrifices to in the fire of the Supreme Brahman.
Now, there are two types of yagyas explained here. So, yagyena. So, some yogis, what they do? They offer pranava yagyena in pure jiva. So, then what happens is, jiva, this pranav omkar becomes like ghee and jiva become like fire. They're like doing ahuti. So this one type of yajna. Or Brahman may become like fire and jiva becomes like a ahuti. So like when you put ghee in fire, ghee goes in fire. Similarly, when jiva goes in Brahman, he merges in Brahman. Brahman realization. So this Brahmavadi's yajna. Another yajna which is explained here is those who worship demigods, they worship demigods who are part and parcel of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu is like that fire, and demigods are their part and parcel. And then whatever you offer to the demigods are like ghee offered to fire. So these two yajnas are explained here. That's clear? Now we'll go to so Prabhupada talks in detail about Baha, Ishwarvadi, those who worship many gods, and he talks about impersonalists also. So these two people, demigod worshippers and impersonalists, are explained in text number 25. So one worship demigods, other worship Brahman. Now 26th. This is about brahmacharis and grahasthas, how they are performing duties and they are doing yajnas. Srota dinendriyani anne samyag nisu jahuvati sabda din visyan anna indriyag nisu jahuvati. Please read translation.
Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses.
So those who are like nastic brahmacharis, so they offer senses into the fire of controlled mind. So they offer the senses into the fire of controlled mind. So controlled mind becomes like fire and the senses become like ahuti. So that is how they do it. So what happens for them is senses stop functioning for enjoying sense objects. So then rather what happens for them is senses then move inwards and they dwell into the spiritual topics. That is the actual definition of brahmachari. Brahmacharati iti brahmachari. One whose mind dwells in the Brahman or spiritual topics, it doesn't dwell into sense gratification. So for him, mind has become like fire because of being in touch with spiritual subject matters, and senses become like ahuti. So that's for a brahmachari. Now for those who are upkarvana become brahmacharis and they become grahastha later on. So those who stayed for who got training and now later on they become grahasthas. So what they do is, so for them regulated householders, okay, I'll tell one more thing about brahmachari, I just forgot. So one more example for them is given is like they even hearing also considered a yajna for brahmacharis. So ear become like yajna kunda and sound vibration becomes like ahuti. There's another way. So there's also yagya for brahmachari. For grastas, senses become like fire, and sense objects which are purified according to scriptures, they become like ahuti. What it means is, those who are regulated grastas, they do sense gratification with a detachment. That means desire for sense gratification is not there. They are doing things to keep this body and mind, soul together so that they can practice spiritual life. And for that, what they do is they purify sense objects and then they put into senses. That's why it's called yagya. For example, now in order to maintain your body, you need to eat. So then food is offered to the Lord, it becomes prasad. Then mouth becomes like a yagakunda and food prasadam becomes like a ahuti. So that's purifying, that's not entangling. So that's true for all the 10 senses. All the 10 senses which we have in this our body. So that's why grastas should offer everything to the deities and only then they should accept. Deities are the altar in the home. So I think I have mentioned to you before also, that was the culture which we learned in our home. Any new thing comes, offer to the Lord and then accept. So being a grasta, you may have to accept it. But then accept it after offering to the Lord, accept it as prasad. Prasad means mercy of the Lord. So then such sense objects become like ghee, which is offered to the senses, which is like fire. Okay. So that's for grastas. Now 27. Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma sanyoga yogagno juvati jnana deepite. Please read translation.
Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind.
So then there are other people who have knowledge of soul. What they do is they offer the activities of 10 pranavayus. So that 10 is pranapan, vyanadana, saman, dhananjaya, etc. So there are 10 pranavayus. Because of them, the body becomes active. So all karmendriyas, they become active. See, previous verse was talking about jnanendriyas, eyes, ears, nose, etc. These are out karmendriyas. So these people, what they do is they restrain the activities of karmendriyas. Then activities of karmendriyas, they become like ahuti, and one puts them in the fire of purity, sanyama. That means you don't do any sense gratification with your gross senses. No activities has to be performed for sense gratification. All activities have to be performed only for purification, and that is called sanyam. So sanyam becomes the fire and activities become like offering of ghee. Is that clear? Another example is given of so such people, they think that only soul perceiving inwards exists and nothing else. So thus these people, in this way, they control their mind through life years and they do the offering. And these people see only soul. They work on the platform of soul. So they may do minimum things to maintain the body by begging, etc. Especially for those who are Gyan Yogi Sannyasis, etc. on Gyan Marg. So there's also type of yagya. Okay. Anupam Mukundru had a question or no?
Yes, Prabhuji, here in the previous verse 26. So here, fire of mental control and fire of the senses. So if we call this means fire of mental control or fire of the senses only when it is attached to devotion. Means when it is under the means in devotional service only or any other spiritual patterns.
I'm talking about Varnasam. Anybody following Varnasam and doing this sort of area. Okay.
Thank you.
That's why you have to understand. Anyone on the Vedic circle has to have Lord Vishnu as center, knowingly, unknowingly. For devotee, devotion is prominent. For other people, it may be secondary, but it has to be done. Otherwise, one will not get purified. For everyone, direct and indirect devotion service is compulsory. Okay. 28. So Prabhupada talked about Pragatma in the verse on Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So he talks about Prana, Apan, Vyanodana, Saman, Vayu. Anyway, we don't have much to do about the Patanjali Yoga system. So we'll go in 28 only. Dravya Gyanas, Tapo Gyanas, Yoga Gannas, Tata Pare, Swadhyay, Yagya, Yagyasa, Yatya, Samsita Vrata. Please read translation.
Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge.
So in this way, there are different yagyas which people perform. See, Krishna talking about all this variety just to show that how all Vedic processes are centered around pleasing Lord Vishnu. So, because certainly we appreciate that our path is the most purifying and the greatest, at the same time we also have to appreciate that Lord Vishnu is pervading in all the Vedic scriptures, in everywhere. So this widens our understanding of devotion service. So Dravya Yagya, some people do Dravya Yagya. What they do? They offer their goods and charity. So this is one type of Yagya. That's called Dravya Yagya. So sometimes some people do Annadan, Vastradan. So this all comes in the category of Dravya Yagya. And some people do Tapo Yagya. Tapo Yagya means they do Vratas. Like many people do Chaturmas also, then Chandrayan Vrat. All these different yagyas, they come in the category of Tapo Yagya. This is also Yagya. Some people do Yoga Yagya, doing the activities of Ashtanga Yoga. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyan, Samadhi. That's also Yagya. Some people do Swadhyaya Yagya. Swadhyaya Yagya means engaged in studying the Vedic scriptures. So they also do sacrifice. They sacrifice their time and intelligence to understand things. So such people, they learn Sanskrit, they go deep into Sanskrit, learn the scripture, try to find the conclusion of the scriptures, and understand the meaning of the scriptures. So that's Swadhyaya Yagya. Then Lord says, Yatata Samchita Vrataha. So such people, they take strict vows in performing any of these yagyas, because for any of these yagyas, one needs determination and one needs sacrifice. So either you sacrifice your intelligence, you sacrifice your goods, you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice opportunity for sense gratification. So sacrifice is there. And the desire to achieve the transcendence is also there. So then there are different types of yagyas which people may perform. And further other type of yagyas, Krishna says. That's like more of an Ashtanga Yoga. 29. Apane juhvati pranam prane apanam tatha pare prana apana gati ruddhva pranayam parayanaha apare niyataraha pranan pranesu juhvati. Please read translation.
Still others who are inclined to the process of restraint to remain in trance practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice.
Those who are do pranayam, they also perform Vanda Yagya. What is that Yagya? Purak, they fully inhale, deep inhaling. So when they inhale, what happens is upward air is coming out and downward air. So upward air is called pranvayu, downward air is called apanvayu. So when you are inhaling, vayu is going inside. So pranvayu merges with the apanvayu. That's called purak. Rechak is fully exhaling, deeply exhaling. Then one offers apanvayu into pranvayu. Then there is kumbhak. In kumbhak, one stops the air. So then movements of prana and apan, they are stopped. So that is also called yagya. Pranvayu offer to offer, apanvayu offer, apanvayu offer to pranvayu. So that's also, Krishna really is so liberal. Just because you are following Krishna, this is also yagya. Because at least you are following my instructions to please me. Ultimately, they do it to control mind so that they can achieve Paramatma or Brahman, any of these things. So Lord says, even that activity is considered as yagya. So then there are other people who curtail eating process. They eat very little. That's basically a process of pratyahar. So yan, niyam, asan, pranayam, then comes pratyahar. Pratyahar means pratyahar, one curtails eating. One eats less, one drinks less, one thinks less. Thinks less means they try to reduce the thoughts which come in the mind, rate of the thoughts. So we can understand. It's good to hear all these things. We can hear them and understand how bhakti is so easy. So these people, they offer senses, that's called prana, into pranasa. That's something which subsists on restricted eating. So prana, the senses become fire, and not eating becomes yagya. So what happens is, when pranas, they are weak, we is basically actually talking about the vitality. If we say an English word, it's called vitality. So when vitality goes away, what happens is, because senses depend on vitality, they become incapable of grasping sense objects. Some devotees may be having their experience when you are very tired, or you are now on a day of Nidal Ekadasi. Senses become very, very weak. So I remember once it happens that for months together, I was not getting I was not able to sleep because a lot of services were there. It was in my final year of IIT. So I would study in Kharagpur and I was preaching in some other college. So hardly I would sleep for 3-4 hours. At one point of time, one train passed by from very nearby. After the train passed, then I realized, oh, train passed by. I could have died. So this happens whenever we are very, very tired or we are very weak. Now, for those who want to control the senses, they celebrate these things. We may feeling fearful, senses become weak. So for them, what happens is, their pranas merges with prana, with the sense objects. With the senses. That means senses don't become attracted to sense objects at all. Like once one devotee was asking, the next day of Nidal Ekadasi, whatever a person may give you, So let us say fast breaking time. And somebody, you ask someone, Prabhu, can I get some water? And then instead of giving water, he gives you chadar. He gives you honor of by giving some shawl or some cloth. So he said, no, give me water. Oh no, Prabhu, you are so great. No, you did a big work of doing Nidal Ekadasi. We award you with a garland, and they give you garland. And then they pay you dandavats. Will any of these things please? Senses don't work only. All desire for fame, desire for glory, everything goes away. Because senses are weak. That time you want only water only. So that happens when senses become weak. So this also Krishna says, so those who do it willingly for the purpose of getting transcendence, Lord says this is also sacrifice. What to say of that? This one of the commentaries. Krishna says even your shooting of arrows, Arjuna, is also yajna. If you are shooting arrows for my pleasure, Kaurava army becomes like fire. Your Gandiva bow becomes like a spoon. And your arrows become like ghee. And you become Brahmana in their sacrifice. Like Brahmanas offer ghee in the fire, swaha, swaha. Similarly, Arjuna is shooting arrows, swaha, swaha. Krishna said that is also yajna. So anything done for the pleasure of the Lord becomes a yajna. And what is the result? The result is given in text number 30. Sarve api ete yajna vedo yajna chapete kalmasaha yajna sistamritam bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam. Please read the translation.
All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere.
Yajna Veda previously describing those who are described before. Sarve api ete yajna vedo means whatever they are described till now, these yajna Vedas, knower of the yajnas. Yajna Veda, Veda means Vedosati. Those who are Vidwan or those who are knower. So the one who knows the yajnas, this knower of yajnas who have been performing them, yajna chapete kalmasaha, they become free from sinful reactions. Yajna sistamritam bhojo yanti brahma sanatana. So the primary result is that they achieve Brahman or transcendence. That means they will either achieve Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan, which is all located in the spiritual sky. So they don't remain in the material sky, they go to the spiritual sky. So in this way, through performance of yajna, they get jnana because they become purified. And that jnana helps them to achieve Brahman or spiritual situation. That's the primary result. And secondary result is that they automatically get sense enjoyment and power, which other people endeavor a lot to get. So other people have to work very, very hard to get certain things, which all these Brahma Vedas get very easily. So when they are trying to achieve their Atma, they get even side benefits. The primary result is they get their destination, that's Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. The secondary result is they whatever power and sense gratification they want, they get that also, or whatever is required, they get that. And devotees may be realizing that, like things which are very difficult for outsiders, devotees get them very easily. For example, outside world to get a fine food is so difficult. And sometimes devotees, they get so easily. So many times devotees say that no, we are having such austere life, but we are not doing any austerity actually. First class prasadam, something which you had never even heard before. I think I discussed here before also. Some things, so many items devotees never heard before. So one gets there, all those sense gratification. So what not prasad? We can't even imagine also pizza prasad, pasta prasad, lasagna prasad, everything in the name of prasad. So one gets everything. What outsiders aspire for. One aspires to go and visit outside and see scenic places. So then devotees go for so many yatras. And how many of you went to more yatras after coming to Krishna consciousness than before? Yes. How many of you ate more varieties of items after coming to Krishna consciousness than before? How many of you got more respect after coming to Krishna consciousness than before? Right? Even for devotees also, actually, sometimes for even grastas, outsiders, they don't understand so much different grastas. Among devotee community, things are different. Like once when I, after taking even saffron, I took one devotee with me. He was in white, but he was pretty healthy. And in North India, generally Kathakars means they have to be healthy. You should be visible in your asana. Only then you are Guruji, people will respect you. So a pretty healthy devotee. And I am like, lean, thin fellow and compared to him. So all the relatives who were coming to me, I was touching their feet and they were touching his feet. Actually, he was my counseling only. People were telling, Prabhuji, what is happening? What is happening? And they were asking, "Aapka Guruji hai kya?" "Haan, mere Guruji hai, pair sui hai." So you are telling, "Prabhu, you are my counselor, what you are doing? All of you are touching my feet." I told him, what to do, you are so healthy. So the point is, of course, devotees don't desire all these things. But that is all secondary results, which one gets automatically. So even from a mundane perspective, anybody on a path of transcendence doesn't suffer. This is like an unnecessary imagination because of doers of mentality where people think that unless until I work very hard for sense gratification, I will not get sense gratification. If you just focus on spiritual progress, sense gratification will come at your feet. You have to avoid it. It's other way around. And like one of our brahmacharis, he became pretty sick. So then he went to one, I think Kottakkal or somewhere he went for some treatment, Kerala. So then there was another sadhu, like a pretty healthy sadhu. So then they did pranam. And then sadhu asked, "Na Swamiji, आप बोले हाँ आप कैसे?" बोले क्या कहना है? लोग बोलते हैं कि, I don't know, some of you may understand Hindi, I'll translate also, those who don't understand. I think Bangalore people understand. So he was telling, I'm speaking because he's a North Indian sadhu. So he was saying, लोग कहते हैं कि अरे आप साधु बन गए, आपको खाने को नहीं मिलेगा. अरे साधु लोगों को पता है कि साधु का भंडारा खा के भांडा फूटता है. So what he was telling is, when you become a sadhu, people say, "Hey, if you become sadhu, how will you eat? How will you eat?" Only sadhus know, anywhere they go, people give feast only. Sadhus don't want feast till the people give feast. And that's why that is how sadhus die. Sadhus die by overeating. They don't die out of starvation. So the point I was speaking is, there is no scarcity of sense gratification for those who are on a path of transcendence. So that's a secondary result which a person automatically gets. So whatever is needed for someone's spiritual progress, one will get, apart from getting the spiritual perfection. So Krishna is encouraging Arjuna here that anyone, whether a devotee or non-devotee, everybody should follow yajna and one will never be at loss. So that's the emphasis which Krishna is speaking about. And somebody, if he doesn't perform yajna, what happens to him? That Krishna speaks in 31. नायम लोको अस्ति अयज्ञस्य कुतो अन्या कुरुसत्तमा. Please read.
O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, we never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next?
The person who doesn't do yajna, he doesn't get happiness either in this life or the next life. In the next life, he doesn't get this primary result of getting the transcendental Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. And in this life, yajna sishta sana santo. Okay, no, that this one. What was the next ones? Anna bhavanti bhutani. Those verses we read in the 3rd chapter. Yajna karma samudbhava. So from yajna, only food, grains, and all the necessary supplies from nature come. So if you don't perform yajna, one cannot be happy in this world because one doesn't get a secondary result of sense gratification. And one is not happy in the next life because one doesn't get the ultimate object of transcendental realization. So that was such a person is not happy in this world, he can't be happy in the next world. Okay, so that is what Krishna clarifies. And then further in the 32. Evam bahu vidha yagya vitita brahmano mukhe karma jan viditan sarvan evam gyatva vimuksyase. Please read translation.
All these different types of sacrifices are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated.
Vitita brahmano mukhe. Brahmano mukhe means mouth of the Vedas. That means Vedas themselves have explained about different types of yajnas. That when you open the Vedic literatures, you will find so many yajnas written there. And they are performed karmajan based on actions performed through body, mind, words. So through body, mind, words, one performs different yajnas by which one can easily become liberated. So all these details, because Arjuna has a question. My dear Lord, you are telling about yajna so powerful. How do I find them? It is given in the Vedas. Arjuna, you don't have to worry. And then further he tells about yajnas. Sreyan dravyamayat yagyaj jnana yagya parantapa sarvam karma kilam partha yagye parisamapyate. Please read translation.
O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Partha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge.
So now Krishna is talking about gradations also. That Jnana Yagya is superior to sacrifice of material goods. Dravya Yagya. Like now somebody gives Annadan, Vastradan, etc. Superior than that is the sacrifice of knowledge. Understanding the scripture, etc. and doing things according to scriptures. Jnana Yagya. Rather than just grossly doing it according to rituals. So doing things more on a level of understanding, Jnana Yagya, by understanding the knowledge and then performing things or doing actions, it's better than just grossly just performing rituals. And Jnana Yagya also means understanding difference between body and soul. This is also Jnana Yagya. Hearing about difference between body and soul. So in this way, there are gradations within the Yagyas also. So first you read scriptures, then understand even the gradations, which yajna is better, which is not better. Like after hearing all the yajnas, ultimately devotees perform which yajna?
Sankirtana.
Sankirtana yajna. So devotee performs Sankirtana yajna. So suddenly all activities of devotees are for pleasure of Lord Vishnu only, for Krishna's pleasure. But they also perform Sankirtana yajna. Now there is another question. My dear Lord, you told first there are yajnas are given in the Vedas. Then you say there are gradations of the yajnas. And you see so much varieties of yajnas also. And especially being a king, king should know that how different people can be engaged in service of the Lord. So nobody in the world should say, no, I can't perform yajna. You should have some yajna for it. Like that is how we have Damodar program. So many times some people are too fearful to come to ISKCON. So different people have different agitations. Like in Bengal, they see ISKCON devotee, they become very fearful, thinking that we have to leave fish. So fish is like as good as their heart. So very difficult. Or maybe Andhra person will be fearful, I have to leave movies. So they're like, there are greatest attachments. So many times, many people may be not so much interested. Then we were showing that through skit. That's why we have Damodar program. Okay, you don't come to ISKCON, just know so lamb to Damodar. Damodar will not tell you to leave anything. So in this way, different yajnas can be given to different people. So then Arjuna says, further, how can I understand about yajnas? So further, how can I understand through yajnas? That Krishna speaks in 34, the famous verse for devotees. You can repeat after me this verse. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upajekchanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshanaha. Please read translation as well as purport.
Just try to. Yes, bro,
Just
go ahead.
the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquiring from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Purport given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Gopal. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord, therefore, advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranetam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and observed inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
So these three qualities which Prabhupada has spoken about is submission, service, and inquiry. So these three things are required. So first thing is submission. Submission means understanding that I don't know. So Vedas are there, the various gradations. I don't know the gradations. I don't know what should be done, what should not be done. That's why first thing is, pranipat also basically means bowing down, surrendering or bowing down. That means you accept a lower position. So now offer respects and bow down to Guru. So after that submission comes where one is receptive to hear. Then comes pariprashna. Now you ask. So just submission is also not enough. So once Janivaspu and Pangjangirpu told in the class, Janivaspu also repeated. So he was saying that there are many people who try to roam around us. So you'll find some people, they have a habit of just roaming around the spiritual master here and there. So you are telling, I don't like all such people. Because they don't know how to make a spiritual advancement. One should be around the spiritual master in order to learn from him. Other Prabhupada would say that no. So Prabhupada said that otherwise, even bug may sit on the lap of the king. He doesn't render any service. He just sucks the blood. So just roaming around doesn't help. So second thing should be question. Ke ami, ke amai, jare taptara. So the ideal example is the example of Sanatana Goswami. He says, everybody in the world says, I am big Pandit and I am so foolish that I also accept I am very big Pandit. But I am such a fool that I don't understand who am I and why am I in this world suffering from threefold miseries. I don't understand all these things. So taptre, why I am suffering from Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik and Adi Devik kleshas. I don't understand that. And how one can stop the cycle of birth and death. So these questions have to be there. So one should approach the spiritual master and he has a proper submissive inquiry to really understand how to get out of the cycle of birth and death. So the purpose should be very clear. So one should not go to Guru saying that, please pass my baby, not baby, my son. Baby certainly don't have studies. But please pass my child now. Give me some kripa, some asirvad, he'll pass in the exam. Or you give me some asirvad, now by which I'll get promotion. Or I am trying since long time, I'm not getting married. No, please give me some asirvad. No, let me get married. Sometimes some funny things happen. Many people, they go to Hanumanji and they pray. Hanumanji, please get me married, please get me married. Hanumanji must be thinking, I am myself not married. How can I get you married? Or sometimes they go to sannyasis. No, Maharaj, I am not getting married. Please give me blessings. I can get married. Maharaj, I am not married. How can I get you married? So the point is that's not the purpose of approaching spiritual master. If you are sick, go to doctor. Don't go to spiritual master. If you want money, go to bank and get some loan. Don't go to spiritual master for that. If you want to pass in the exam, go to some tuition master. Don't go to spiritual master. If you want to promotion, then go to something as senior boss or someone. Spiritual master should be approached for the purpose of spiritual perfection. That's the whole point. And then render service to the Guru. Rendering service to the Guru means because Guru knows how to serve Supreme Lord and he will give you the right path. Now for devotees especially, we want to serve Krishna, but who knows how to serve the Krishna the best? A spiritual master. So we should assist the spiritual master by following the instructions. So you got instructions, now assist the spiritual master by following the instructions. Tad vijnanartam saivam evavi gachet samet prani srotavyam brahmanishta. So one who has seen the Brahman, one who has realized the Brahman, he knows the path. He knows how to help you to progress in spiritual life and achieve the goal of life. So that's the whole point. So all these three things are required: submission, inquiry, and service. Service is following the instructions. So suddenly one is directly service of literally serving, but many people don't get that opportunity. cooking for the spiritual master, massaging the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Not all the people will get the opportunity. But one opportunity is there for everyone. That's called Vani Seva. Following the instruction of the spiritual master. Although service of the body, Vapu Seva is very rarely available for very less people. So that's the verse. And that's this true not just for devotees, even for any people who are on the path of spiritual perfection. Karma yogis, Gyan yogis, Ashtanga yogis. They all have to approach their respective spiritual masters. Fine. So it's already 9 o'clock. And next time we are expecting devotees will do their homework. We'll end here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Thy God
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji.